Well, good morning, friends, and welcome to the July garden tour. Here we are at the last day of July. It's about 2:30 p.m. and I thought we better take a look around the garden and check in on how everything's doing. But before we get started, I definitely wanted to just thank you all so much for your continued support. The fact that you show up and you watch these videos means so much to myself and my family. I truly feel like time is such a special gift to give to someone. I think it's really the most precious gift we can give to each other, and I don't take it lightly that you spend your valuable time here in my garden with me. So without further ado, let's take a look around at how everything's doing in the July garden. So overall, I feel like this year versus other years in July, everything has just been really dry. I normally don't have to water too much here, but I've been watering almost every day and my rain barrel is completely depleted. I am trying to get better, and I think I might have mentioned this in the May garden tour, but with rhythm and repetition. So instead of putting all my rudbekia in one big drift, I'm trying to space it here and there throughout the garden. And basically what is the star of the show in the main flower walk are the limelight hydrangeas, the rudbekia, the coneflowers, and also a lot of the dahlias that we started from seed together. So come on into this somewhat of a jungle garden that I've created at this point during the year. It feels like an overgrown jungle. I feel like I'm weeding 24/7 and not making much progress. Do you ever feel like that? But back here we have a beautiful firelight hydrangea. It's just started to take on its pink color at this point. We have some lovely coneflowers and some Denver daisy rudbekia. In front of that we have some gomphrena from seed. And in case you're new here, most of my garden is grown from seed. That's just how I really like to do things, and it makes me really excited to see the whole growing process from start to finish. There's some rudbekia here on the left side of your screen, as well as a sprinkling of feverfew, and also some salvias you'll see mixed into both sides of the border. I decided to go ahead and prune back my Winecraft Gold smoke bush just so that you could see this limelight hydrangea. In previous years, it's always hidden by the smoke bush, and I think I'm glad I went ahead and did that this year. I have the elephant ears that we started together mixed in with the salvias there. And you see I have 3 as we walk along the border. I feel like I'm always saying that we're about to get rain when I do these garden tours, but we really are about to get some rain yet again. But I'm really thankful for that because it has been so strange this year. Here you can see some of the dahlias that we started from seed together blooming now. Some really beautiful orange ones. Still dealing with a lot of Japanese beetle pressure. I'm really glad I decided to cut back the Joe Pye weed this year. It's much more manageable since I did the Chelsea chop on it. The other great thing about growing dahlias from seed is that I noticed the pollinators just absolutely love seed dahlias. So moving right along, down on the right hand of your screen you see some rue. And I have another elephant ear tucked in here. I tucked in a mahogany splendor hibiscus there where there was Ami Magus, hoping that that color will take over in the fall. And just some more seed dahlias in this area. Over here we have some more seed dahlias that look like a beautiful sunset. And I think what I'm going to do is move my winterberry behind my lady statue here. I have one winterberry over to her left, and I think it would be nice to tuck one behind her as well and kind of have this nice winter garden moment right there. So as we round the corner here, I think we'll continue on straight this time, but in case you're new to my channel, if you look to your left, you can see the new hydrangea room that I created this year. And there's some beautiful gladiolas and panicle hydrangeas to see over there. Also, cup and saucer vine is in bloom. But let's keep on heading straight for today's video. So the dark purple gladiolus that you see right here was supposed to be a cranberry gladiolus called Isabella, but it ended up being purple, and it's absolutely stunning. I just wish I knew what the variety was. It's purple with some red streaking, white streaks towards the center too. I absolutely love it. I would love to get more, but I'm just not sure what the variety is. Right next to that, we have another mahogany splendor hibiscus. So now we arrive at my grandma's garden where I'm going for mauves and blues, really simple tones. I do have a couple things blooming in this garden that I don't think I had blooming before. Mainly, I have a couple diva dahlias coming on and also some anemone lifestyle. I haven't bagged these dahlias, so they've been dealing with some Japanese beetle damage. But by the time we come to the August garden tour, we'll have lots of nice dahlias in this area to look at. But I've shown you this view looking at her chair, but let me show you what she sees sitting in it. And I hope the camera is focusing for you there, but basically what she's looking at is Hummingbird Way. So let's go ahead over there now. So I think for the first year for this hydrangea room, things are looking great, but definitely some lessons that I'm learning so far. I see we have that beautiful strawberry Sunday panicle hydrangea blooming in the background. I have a couple different firelight hydrangeas, but I think we need some more panicle hydrangeas in this room. So I'm thinking of taking out these lilacs, putting them somewhere else, and bringing in a hedge of bobo hydrangeas. If anyone has bobo, would you tell me if you think that's a good idea? I'm not sure if they might get too big for that area and I would need to pull the whole room out a little bit more. But I want this hydrangea room to look good for as long as possible. And I think just having this much open dirt here in the front is just not really what I'm going for. But we'll get there in time, right friends? Now let me show you something I'm really excited about, which is this amazing gladiolus called Sugar Plum. This gladiolus definitely exceeded my expectation, not only with the beautiful color, but it also has that nice satiny sheen to its petals, just like espresso has. So definitely Sugar Plum was one that I added to my shopping cart later on, but it turns out that that's my favorite one I've grown this year. Isn't it funny how that happens sometimes? Okay friends, something wonderful is happening. Look at this gorgeous bumblebee in our cup and saucer vine. So this is the cup and saucer vine that I told you guys that I was starting really early on this year. I had heard Sarah Raven talk about that. Also, Erin at Floret talked about how she was starting hers early. So I started mine early and they just started blooming, I would say about 1 week ago. So definitely worth it. It was kind of hard to have them growing inside for that long, but probably if you had a greenhouse, that wouldn't be any issue for you. So of course in the hydrangea room, we have a lot of hydrangeas. We have some gladiolas and salvia just for some other textures, but this is also where I have my lisianthus. Most of them I have cut at this point, but there are a few left to see here. Some nice purples as well. There was also some soft buttery yellows, but I did use those in a bridal bouquet. But here's a look at how Hummingbird Way looks late July. So my main thought moving forward with this area is to just keep it as concentrated with hydrangeas as possible. So I think I'll even be pulling out some of the perennials that are in this area and possibly only keep the feverfew as the only perennial in this garden. So I do have some beautiful celosias in here, some flamingo feather celosia, some sylphid celosia, but I think this garden, in order for me to just have a little more time, to be honest with you, needs to just be a little bit more low maintenance, and this is an area where I think I can make this garden work for me rather than having me work for the garden, if that makes sense. I really do love doing a lot of garden maintenance, but at this point my whole garden is high maintenance, and I think it would be really nice, well, I suppose Grace's garden isn't much maintenance, but in terms of creating this new garden, I think it would just be really nice to be a little more hands-off, just some pruning in the early spring and some shaping of the boxwood, because what I want to do next year, friends, is create a hydrangea annex. Is that the right word to say? So what I want to do, and we'll fill this up with some more hydrangeas next year, what I want to do is take this kusa dogwood that you see in the distance. So here we have an apple tree, and there we have a kusa dogwood. I want to make kind of another lima bean shaped bed over there and fill that with hydrangeas as well. That way I'm hoping that this whole back area of the garden will feel like a hydrangea room that's kind of separated into two different rooms. I'm not really sure if that makes any sense or if my vision is coming through clearly, but I can see it. So it would kind of almost be like a hug for those chairs where we sit at our fire pit. And then over here on the left of your screen is Gracie's garden. I've started to bring in some evergreens, and hopefully by the end of fall, we'll have this area lined with a lot more native evergreens for privacy. So that's just where I'm thinking moving forward, but definitely I want to do the hydrangea annex over there. And if you have a better name for that, please let me know. But let's travel back through Hummingbird Way and go see the raised beds. There are some beautiful dahlias blooming. I went ahead and removed all of the bags for us so that we can get a nice look at these beautiful blooms. So I'm hoping to give the raised bed area a little bit of a makeover. I think I'm going to be starting this fall by adding a deck. I'm thinking of doing this, instead of digging the stones into the turf like I normally would, I'm thinking of removing the stones from the area, laying down some topsoil, putting the stones on top of that, and then either planting some turf just from seed on top of that topsoil, or maybe even planting some steppables in between them. I think I need maybe about 4 more stones, but I want to create a deck in this area, and then I want to surround the entire raised bed garden with an ornamental garden. And I'm really going for the look of the Italian water garden that they have over at Longwood Gardens. That's always been my favorite garden over there. And I think it would be nice just to have some ornamental flowers over here that just stay here and don't get cut. So first up, you'll see the wonderful raspberry cream gomphrena from Johnny's. This is their new color that they just put out this year. It's very, very similar to QIS pink. Maybe a little bit more on the purple side, but I can't tell a huge difference between QIS pink and raspberry cream now that I've grown them both. There's a lot of beautiful dahlias blooming now. This one is called Creme de Cognac, and it has been blooming for so long, and it is so floriferous. It is just pumping out the blooms. I'm so impressed with it. Right next to that one, we have Melina Fleur. And my sincere apologies if I'm saying that one wrong, but it's this beautiful peach color with hints of pink and yellow in the petals as well. Really nice strong stems on Melina Fleur. Next to that we have Sweet Love. Now I did have bags on all these dahlias, but I did take the bags off for the tour. But I do have to bag them here in my area this time of year because you can see we get a lot of Japanese beetle damage. But Sweet Love is so beautiful, isn't it? And the stems on her, man, they are so strong. I'm getting a lot of resistance just pulling that stem close to me. So those are the main dahlias that are blooming over here. We seeded this bed of nigella together to bloom in the early fall, and it has started to come up. I'm just trying to keep this area moist at the moment. Right next to that, we have another wave of sunflowers. I believe these are terracotta that I have planted here. I decided to leave my snapdragons in this area and see if they give me what would be a third flush. I have some purple celosia here, and we have our Mexican bush sage. I noticed that some of my straw flower, that the seed is ready to be harvested. So I can go ahead and show you how to do that now. But this one is ready for picking fresh. This one is in the perfect stage for drying. And here we have one where the seed is ready to be collected. So I just grab the middle there. That's where all the seed is. The brown portion there is the seed, and this fuzzy part is the chaff. And if you put all of this in a Tupperware and give it a good shake, or even a paper bag, it will separate itself, chaff from seed. And then I can just store that in a paper bag for next year. But we have the beautiful purple red here. And the tall mix is giving me all kinds of wonderful colors, great light yellows, bright yellows, wonderful pinks, so much to enjoy and love. And I really need to get out here and harvest this back down to about 1/3 from the ground. I decided to go ahead and plant Hydrangea up all the bamboo poles once the sweet peas were done. And I did 4 different colors. I did the white there. I also did a buttery yellow. I have a pink there in the front, and then kind of that standard orange. And I hope that will be really nice come fall to have all those different colors growing up the posts. Here we have the queen lime with red zinnia. These are just getting started. Also, I have some Sundance Kid sunflowers in here. And look at this one, has variegated foliage. I did not know that Sundance Kid did that, and I don't know if that one's just an anomaly, but I was really excited to see that. I have some more Dara blooming here and a couple foxglove that decided just to plant themselves in that area. Let's take a look at some more dahlias over here and some vegetables in different successions I have going. For some reason I'm drawing a blank on this dahlia, so I'll throw it up on the screen. But we have another Melina fleur. The Cerinthe that we sowed together is up now and growing well. And then I have lots of different hot peppers in this area, and some stuffing peppers, Cajun bell peppers, holy moly peppers, Hungarian wax. I love peppers, don't you? So this bed did have Sunflower Steve's sunflowers in it, and I've since replaced it with some 70-day marigolds, some Xanthos cosmos. So you can see the marigolds are up there. The cosmos are just peeking through here. And I also put in another succession of dill. Over here we have the beautiful Oxford blue scabiosa blooming. I love this purple flower. When is the floral industry going to get on board with calling purple flowers purple and blue flowers blue? Back in this bed, I just have basically the same type of peppers. I have some California Wonder back there. And then this back bed has lots of different tomato varieties. And then if I swing us over to the $5 garden, if you saw the maintenance day I did, I flipped this bed pretty much completely. So what you're seeing here right now is just limelight prime hydrangea, some native ironweed, which is a wonderful cut flower and is native. And I did see that Sundance Kid is making an appearance. So I have to come out here and just make sure to keep the ground moist. So this area is going to look a little bit bare for about a month. But once we come to, I would say, the end of September, right into October, we'll have a second $5 garden yet again. Corn's doing all right, but the late July garden is definitely a time of transition and bed flipping and kind of waiting for the next flush. I've been relying a lot on my lilies. And with that being said, let's head over to the driveway garden now. I've been making some changes over there and have a big change planned for that area. But what once was an area that was full of lilies has now been fully cut. And I think it would be a good idea to take a look at that garden because it's a realistic view of a cutting garden in the landscape where all the flowers are truly being cut. So let's head over that way. I just realized I didn't show you this Costa Gladiola yet, and there's an espresso over here on our way back, which is another one of my favorites. I think I cut pretty much all of them, but it looks like there's one left here. Isn't that color amazing? Espresso is really a winner. So here's a look at how these two gardens kind of connect. We were over there at the main flower walk, and here we are. I'm standing right next to a Cuso dogwood tree, and we have Rosa Sharon behind us and Pussy Willow. But back in the back of this garden, I have a couple different limelights and a limelight prime. I would like to move that limelight prime back to establish this nice tall panicle hydrangea hedge back here. I'm not sure whether I'll keep a swing in this area or not, but I do want to establish some more winter interest in this garden and also start to turn it into more of a potager slash cut flower garden next year. So the first thing I want to do is establish a little more evergreen interest in this area. So I have my hedge of Invincible Spirit too. I moved my bird bath over here, and I really like how that looks, and I'm almost contemplating adding a ring of small boxwood around it. That might be nice. I really don't have too much winter interest in this garden here at all, besides just any panicle hydrangea blooms that are left. Here you're seeing an amazing hydrangea that is still small because I cut on it so hard, called Pinky Winky. This is a hydrangea that I don't feel like gets enough attention, and I think it's the most beautiful panicle lace-capped hydrangea in the entire world. I'm gonna try not to cut on it so hard this year so it can finally get to its mature size, because it gets really big as well. Over in here, Proven Winner sent me one of their new ones called Pufferfish. Isn't this awesome? And the blooms on Pufferfish are just absolutely ginormous, big and fluffy, and I can kind of see why they called it Pufferfish. So I think moving forward with this garden, I wanted to have the feel of a potager garden. I wanted to still be a really productive cutting garden, but my hope is that by bringing in some more evergreens and some more vegetables, that it won't feel so bare once I cut the whole garden. Because I'll put another image right here of what it looked like before I really started cutting everything. But it looks beautiful a few days out of the year when everything is in full bloom or when it's about to be ready to be harvested. Then I cut everything and I'm really just left with the structure of the shrubs over here. So I think I need to lean into that and create kind of a shrub garden with some edibles and then add in my cut flowers, rather than relying so heavily on my cut flowers, which, you know, let's face it, they go away as soon as I cut them. And the other thing I'm going to do here is lighten my maintenance by changing my pathway. So I currently have a pathway right here, which is cardboard with mulch. And the first year this worked great. And then when I tried to establish that mini meadow, which just didn't really work out, I don't really feel like my neighbors really cared for it, so I decided to take it down. What happened was when that mini meadow was growing up, so were a lot of weeds. They were blowing their seed into my pathway, and now I've created kind of a very weedy path for myself, which I'm having to weed. So in order to lighten the load, I'm bringing in some rolled bamboo, kind of this, I think they call it like a pallet walkway slats or something. Anyway, I'll show you them once we get here, but I'm hoping that by laying those rolls out, it will give me this wonderful natural pathway, but without the maintenance that I'm having here in the mulched pathway. And even though there aren't tons of flowers over here left, we do have some beautiful Millennium Alliums, or perhaps that's Serendipity. I'm so sorry, friends. I seem to always forget. We also have some Ruby Parfait Celosia over in this area. We do have another round of Sunflower Steve's sunflowers. It was kind of interesting because the first wave that I planted were all kind of those really interesting shapes and colors. These ones are beautiful too, but they're a little more normal looking. But I love them all. I'm super thankful for those seeds. I do have a few Cornell dahlias over here, so they'll start to flower over here and give me some color, but once again, I'll be cutting them, so I'll be removing the blooms. So that's kind of where I'm thinking to go in terms of the driveway garden. But let me know your thoughts on the driveway garden moving forward. This garden was basically created completely backwards because there was just multiple rows of pro cuts being grown here when I first started. And so I've really been creating this garden just from a backward state of mind, and also it's very loud over here. No one really likes to hang out over here. And I wish I could tell you that I had a grand plan or, you know, a master plan in mind, but to be honest, I don't. I just know that it needs work, it needs something, it needs to be definitely easier, and I really just appreciate your advice on it. Well, friends, I think that brings us to the end of the July garden tour. I'd like to just leave you with a little bit of encouragement at the end of this tour as we enter August. I sometimes feel, and do you guys feel like this? I feel like August is sometimes the hardest month in the garden. And isn't that so funny, because the garden is exploding with life and blooms everywhere you look. But at the same time, we're dealing with so many things. The pests are here in full force. You're asking yourself if you have mosaic virus or not. Is that tarnished plant bug? When are the Japanese beetles going to leave? Do I really have more cucumber beetles coming to attack me? But my friends, we will get through it. We'll get through the good times and the bad times in the garden, and we'll learn as we go along. And I love that. The garden is always teaching me, and I am an eager student. How about you? Well, I want to wish you a wonderful day out there in your gardens, and of course, happy gardening. Bye.